The third area I want to talk about is the state sector. Now, there's really no area where the contrast between the US market system and China's state-centered economy is more obvious and more sharply drawn than on state ownership. In the US, the private sector is a key driver of dynamism in the economy. In China, the state sector plays an outsized role. A vivid illustration of that, consider the revenue of China's state-owned industrial firms. As you can see in this chart, if China's state-owned industrial firms were an economy, they would be the third largest economy in the world. China's state sector on its own is bigger than the entire German economy. Now, in the West, we view that entirely through a negative lens. We view it through the lens of inefficiency and corruption. And that is not an incorrect way to view it. China's state sector is very inefficient. Return on assets for China's state sector is much lower than return on assets for China's private sector. But that is not the only way to think about China's state sector, and that is not the way in which China's own leadership think about the state sector. So let's take a step back and try and see the role of the state sector in China through the eyes of China's leaders. And to do that, let's hear what Deng Xiaoping, China's great reformer, thought of Mikhail Gorbachev, the great reformer of the Soviet Union. Here's what Deng Xiaoping's son said about his father's view. My father thinks Gorbachev is an idiot. So why did Deng think that Gorbachev was an idiot? Well, one important reason is that Gorbachev attempted to reform the Soviet economy by taking his hands off the levers which controlled the Soviet economy. And by doing so, he ultimately lost control and failed to execute on his objectives. China's leaders have taken a different approach. China's leaders have kept their hands on the levers which control the economy. The commanding heights of the banks, the oil firms, the telecom firms, many large industrial firms remain state-owned. And that gives China's leaders a powerful lever which they can use to execute on development objectives and on management of the economic cycle. On development objectives, China's leaders can direct state banks and state firms to acquire technologies and put those technologies to work at enormous scale in the Chinese economy, bringing China closer towards the productivity frontier. On management of the economic cycle, China's leaders can direct the state sector to hold on to their workers and to invest when private firms have become more cautious, and that is a powerful tool for avoiding or cushioning recessions. The state sector is big, the state sector is inefficient, but by focusing only on those negatives, we miss the crucial role that China's state sector also plays as a driver of development and a powerful tool that can be used to manage the economic cycle.